Hello again, everyone. It's This Week in Agribusiness. Meteorologist Greg Soulje, we're in from Max Armstrong. This Farm Progress Dateline Droughts brought to you by Genuity Drought Guard Hybrids. Hey, somewhat better looking news out there. If you watch those radar sweeps in sites across the country, there's been a pretty decent outbreak or two of shower thunderstorm activity the past 12 to 18 hours, reaching as far northwest as some of the drier areas and northward extent of the drought pattern through southern Minnesota, as well as southeastward into areas of southern and central Wisconsin, catching a good chunk of northern and central through east central Illinois, and more so, showers and thunderstorms over about the next 12 to 18 hours will add on top of that amounts of a half to an inch, some totals of an inch or two, would you believe, throughout parts of Indiana, Ohio, and the Ohio Valley. So a subtle shift and change here, at least in the short term. Boy, those are about the best rains that we have seen and will continue to see here, not only in the short term, but over the next 2 or 3 weeks, perhaps crop saving in some areas. But at the same time, will sort of aggravate the overall comfort out there. Boy, those triple-digit readings played out over some sections of the Great Plains, and if you think that's hot, just wait till we head on through the weekend. Early next week, some of the hottest weather by itself that we've seen air temperature-wise will play out into areas of Kansas, Oklahoma, maybe the far southwestern Corn Belt. So after a subtle and temporary easing of temperature and humidity, the hot stuff is back in. Daytime readings expected to soar to about 110 degrees on average. Boy, that'll burn up things further. Keep an eye on livestock and yourselves as well. But back to the rain area, that'll fire up another shot or two and some decent coverages as we head on through at least the balance of the workday and Thursday. That front should shift south of the Ohio on Friday, head back north as a warm front over the weekend, maybe tripping off a thunderstorm into the upper Midwest. And boy, things will really get cooking again through the first half of next week. Additional runs of mid-90 to low 100 degree heat, but the first of two significant cold fronts. We'll talk about this weekend on This Week in Agribusiness and take a look at an updated 4-week forecast. But the first of two significant fronts, one to come through the middle and late portions of next week, another one just beyond the first week of August, should at least temporarily ease the heat and generate some decent rainfall. But in the meantime, here's how at least a moisture plays out over and about the next 24 hours. It'll come through in fairly good coverage and amounts. Looky here, an inch or two, sections of eastern Indiana, as well as across Ohio, southward into the areas of Kentucky and the Tennessee Valley, and some spots around the Great Lakes region, including southern Wisconsin, up to and around an inch of rain. So some good news in the short term. We'll hope for the best in the longer term. Here's a check on markets now, and our friend Bryce Knorr.
Thanks, Greg. Futures prices rallied today, but it wasn't without a fight. Once again, profit-taking during the overnight electronics session began to give way to buying when U.S. firms opened for business. News out of Washington helped tip the scales. Ag Secretary Tom Vilsack met with President Obama about the drought, then spoke at the daily White House briefing, reiterating there was no plan to waive the renewable fuels mandate for ethanol. That helped spark a rally in corn, which had been trading lower after the Energy Department reported ethanol production fell again this week, down another 19,000 barrels a day to its lowest level since the government began keeping weekly records 2 years ago. The rally in corn was just the ticket for soybeans, helping new crop November join the futures rally underway in old crop. Soybean meal led the charge, moving to a new all-time high with its first trades over $500 a ton, as feed buyers scramble to secure supplies. August soybean futures soared in sympathy, taking out last week's record high by July futures before it went off the board. Wheat prices followed along, only posting modest gains at all three exchanges before a late rally to new highs. Buyers continue to resist higher wheat prices, with Japan and Jordan both canceling tenders. Export news will be on the mind of the market tomorrow as well. Traders look for another good week of soybean sales, though wheat and corn bookings could be sluggish. But weather remains the dominant story of the market, of course. Midday weather maps shifted wetter again over the next 2 weeks, but this week's rains continue to look like they won't help much, keeping bulls in charge. Keep up with the drought situation across the country by visiting www.datelinedrought.com.